Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Arlington County government, thank you for joining us this morning as we gather to commemorate the anniversary of the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001. We come together to honor and remember the lives that were lost and to express our gratitude to those who responded on that day and every day since in service to their fellow citizens. Please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Arlington County Public Safety Combined Honor Guard and the singing of our national anthem. Captain Tyson Stanislaus will now sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and of the free and the home of the brave?
Right shoulder, up. Order, arch. Ready, cut. Ceremonial at ease. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our elected and senior appointed officials. Arlington County Board Chair Matt DeFerranti, County Board Vice Chair Katie Crystal, County Board members Livy Garvey, Takis Karatonis, Christian Dorsey. We also have with us former County Board Chair Jay Fazette, former County Managers Ron Carlee and Barbara Denallen. Jay Fazette and Ron Carlee were the Chair and County Manager on September 11th, 2001. We also have State Delegate Alfonso Lopez, County Manager Mark Schwartz, County Fire Chief David Pavlitz, County Police Chief Andy Penn, Sheriff Beth Arthur, and Director of Public Safety Communications and Emergency Management Aaron Miller. At this time, we will hear remarks from County Board Chair Matt DeFerranti.
Good morning. Honored guests, Arlington County public safety personnel, and distinguished residents, all residents, fellow Arlingtonians. This morning we mark and remember the 20th anniversary of the coordinated attack on Arlington and on America, where 184 Americans lost their lives at the Pentagon and 2,977 lost their lives across the country. Most of us alive that day will never forget where we were. I was at my kitchen table listening to the radio. Yes, radios were a thing back then. And getting ready for work. I'll never forget looking up from that table and running to turn on the TV, shocked. Today we honor those we lost, the efforts of the many Arlington first responders who risked their own lives to respond to the attack on the Pentagon, and to remember our shared experience as a county government and as a community. On September 11th, 9 of our fire stations sent firefighters to the scene. Our police department and our sheriff's office also rushed to help. Former Fire Chief Jim Schwartz was the deputy chief at the time and became the incident commander. He arrived at the Pentagon 9 minutes after the plane hit the building. Jim shares a story that shows our public safety's bravery and professionalism. After he arrived at the Pentagon, the radio reported that another plane might be heading towards the Pentagon. He and many of you, other first responders at the scene, had to scramble to leave the Pentagon, only to later return 20 minutes after scrambling. The plane that they were worried about that was in the air eventually went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Later that day, and for the ensuing 10 days, Arlington County, through our fire department and leadership, led the response for the region, working day and night at the scene. Our entire county workforce pitched in to support the response. If you are here today and served our community on 9/11 or the days, weeks, and months afterwards, you have our community's gratitude and thanks for your extraordinary service. Later that day, in the morning, afternoon, and evening, Arlington residents walked home from their jobs in D.C., contacted their schools to make sure children were safe, and sought somehow to absorb the fact that the world had changed. The next day and in the ensuing weeks, Arlingtonians sought to help any way they could, sending food to fire stations, leaving notes at the Pentagon, and making sure our first responders never paid for lunch when they were out in the community. If you remember those weeks and months after 9/11, Arlington came together as a people and recognized service. We held an October 7th event led by then County Board Chair Jay Fassett to remember and appreciate everything that had happened, to grieve and to be together. If you watch the video of that event, or if you remember wherever you were in the days, weeks, and months after 9/11, I think you'll see or remember that it was a time of kindness and togetherness, even if it definitely wasn't easy or perfect. One Cherrydale firefighter put it this way: it was a time when people were more likely to give each other a hug than a scowl. We need a little bit more of that these days. I think we'd all agree that in this moment, with the pandemic and all we face, his words ring as true as they ever have. So, as we remember September 11th, let's never forget those who lost their lives, including Arlington County Police Officer Harvey Snook, who died of 9/11 related cancer on January 14th, 2016. Let's also remember and honor the families of those we've lost. Let's honor our current public safety who served, as well as those who have retired. The response to the Pentagon is forever in the DNA of the Arlington public safety agencies that responded. It is a legacy to be proud of and to continue to share with the new generation of responders. Let's seek to keep this spirit and kindness and resilience we found as a community after September 11th. I hope you'll take a moment to reflect today. I hope you'll join me now or take a private moment later to thank all those who keep our community safe.
County Manager, Mr. Mark Schwartz.
Good morning. 20 years ago, on a beautiful Tuesday morning, September 11th, I was at work in my office in the new executive office building just down the street from the White House. We knew what had happened in New York, and then we heard about the Pentagon, and were warned another plane was flying toward this area, and we evacuated as quickly as we could. The fear and anxiety we felt was overwhelming, and we ran away from what we thought was danger. This is just one of the reasons I stand in awe of the tremendous work done by our first responders every day, and especially that tragic day 20 years ago. Running into an inferno to help, charging into the horror rather than turning away. This is the definition of courage. My thanks to all the active and retired firefighters, EMTs, police officers, members of the Sheriff's Department, call center operators, and volunteer members of the community who responded in so many ways. I especially want to take a minute to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice, whether those working in the Pentagon that day or the first responders who suffered impacts that day and later to their physical, mental, and emotional health. For many, the loss and memories continue to be difficult. I hope that each of you are taking an opportunity to find solace that can bring you some comfort. Looking out at the crowd today, I want to offer my personal appreciation for all that you do to keep our county and region safe. We are well prepared to respond to emergencies that face us, whether it is natural, public health, or man-made disaster. I am proud of the resiliency that our employees showed on 9/11. And as we tackle challenges each day, whether the COVID-19 pandemic, helping new arrivals from Afghanistan, or helping to enrich and repair the fabric of our great democracy. And most importantly, I want to thank each of you for serving our community every minute of every day. Thank you.
The Chief of the Arlington County Fire Department, Chief David Pavlitz.
Thank you, Captain Santini. It is my humble privilege to join you on the 20th anniversary of the tragic events from September 11th, 2001. We will remember those who lost their lives at the World Trade Center, Pentagon, and Flight 93. We will honor the brave members of the military, fire, rescue, EMS, law enforcement, emergency management, emergency communicators, and the citizens who helped those in need. It is clear to me that every responder who worked at the crash site had the support of thousands from Arlington County government and the surrounding communities. It has been fascinating to hear how Arlington came together in moments before, during, and the years after the crashes. The county board, manager's office, and every single department and agency of the government focused on a common mission to help others in extreme crisis. The concern, charity, and compassion is admirable and always the right thing to do. Those same values are on display as we respond to this pandemic. The fire department has 76 active members who are working or responded to the Pentagon during September 11th, 2001. They worked tirelessly before, during, and after the crash. We are proud to be a part of the ongoing effort to keep Arlington a safe, secure, and thriving community. We affirm our commitment to guard, protect, and serve our county as those who did on that day. Through ceremony, personal reflection, we recognize our family, friends, and communities who were and are affected by this tragedy. We give our gratitude to those who support us and help us every day to do our sworn duty. As armed forces and first responders worked side by side 20 years ago, we commit then and affirm now to defend our freedoms and help those in need. Our remembrance events display our respect for our institutions and our dedication to our nation. It is an honor and privilege to remember the events of that day in 2001 with a sense of reverence, resolve, and resilience. As we continue to heal, let us also keep the communities affected by the pandemic, violence, and natural disasters in our thoughts. As we know, recovery is very difficult. They will need our help and the help of the county as well. Thank you very much. Captain Santini.
The Chief of the Arlington County Police Department, Chief Andy Penn.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today as we come together to remember. It's hard to believe that it's been 20 years since our world changed forever. There are very few events throughout my life where I remember where I was when I heard something or remember my specific actions over a period of days and weeks. 9/11 is certainly one of those events. It's not possible to think of September 11th without reflecting upon the devastating loss of life. Nearly 3,000 men, women, and children were taken from us as a result of the actions of a few. Here in Arlington, as mentioned, we lost Corporal Harvey Schnook in January of 2016 as a result of cancer contracted while working in the recovery efforts at the Pentagon. Harvey was a wonderful human being, a great police officer, and a true friend to all that he met. He always had a kind word and a big smile that would brighten your day. Harvey, like so many others, is sorely missed. As we reflect back to 20 years ago, we must always continue to honor those that were lost, but also recognize the strength of our community. Those that committed this heinous act were directly attacking our way of life. What the terrorists did not count on was the resiliency and determination of our nation and the American people who came together and supported one another through some of our darkest days. As I look back on the hours, days, and weeks following 9/11, the manner in which this community came together and supported one another was truly inspiring. Following the attacks of 9/11, President Bush remarked, "Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve." These words continue to resonate with me today. Here in Arlington, our strength as a community comes directly from our willingness to accept the differences that make us unique and stronger, both in spirit and in character. It is our solemn promise to never forget the lives lost as a result of the attack, the sacrifice of Corporal Harvey Schnook, the bravery of all who responded that fateful day and the days following, and all of those who continue to keep us safe both here at home and abroad. Thank you.
Department of Public Safety, Communications, and Emergency Management, Mr. Aaron Miller.
Good morning. I'm humbled to be with you today to acknowledge those who responded on the morning of September 11, 2001, and remember those who lost their lives. Again this year, on the 20th anniversary of those terrorist attacks, we pause to remember the nearly 3,000 men, women, and children who lost their lives, and we remain eternally grateful to the first responders and other county employees who rushed into action that day. Among those serving that morning were men and women of the Arlington County Emergency Communications Center. 911 Center staff answered the call for service with grace, determination, and bravery. They were a calm voice, on the other end of a 911 call. They were a lifeline on the other end of a radio to our first responders at the Pentagon. They dutifully served the community, the nation, in the face of an uncertain, rapidly evolving, and catastrophic emergency. I am humbled to work alongside of them and each of these first responders every single day. Their dedication to service, dedication to others, a selfless dedication demonstrated through ongoing acts of compassion and courage, big and small, is a hallmark of Arlington's first responders. It is a proud tradition, and in part, it is through this selfless dedication how we in Arlington continue to honor the legacy of those who lost their lives. May God continue to bless the memory of their loved ones, friends, and families. And may our work of selfless dedication, rooted in justice, righteousness, and service, carry on their legacy.
Sheriff Beth Arthur.
Good morning, everyone. On a beautiful day just like today, September 11th, 2001, after watching what was going on in New York, I stepped in my office to call my husband, who works for the Department of Labor, to tell him what was going on. And at about 9:38, a deputy walked by my office, Deputy Shelley Pugh Washington, and said, "The Pentagon's been hit." I looked out of my window and saw the plume of smoke that came up out of the Pentagon. And there was lots of thoughts running through my mind. And at any rate, I locked down the jail, and the sheriff's office started to prepare to help out in any way that we could, to help our community and to help our public safety partners in Arlington, and to help any victims that were still at the Pentagon that we could help assist. I cannot say enough about how proud I am of the men and women that work in this community and public safety on September 11th, and for the last 20 years that I've had the honor to work with. They've stood tall every time anything is ever asked upon them. They serve our community with grace and dignity, and and have been just a pillar to me within this community. And I can't be prouder of how Arlington responded, but also how America responded. If you remember, we saw flags everywhere. We were one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. While we're a resilient group, we also always are prepared for what's going to happen. And so we continue to be prepared and ready to stand up every single day for what might come our way, whether it's a fire, an incident in our community, in the jail, in the courthouse. We're all there. ECC, calm voices in the midst of chaos. So the memories that I have of that day are vivid, and just like they happened yesterday, as the other chiefs have said. But I couldn't be prouder of this community and the way we responded. And as Ron Carley pointed out last night, it wasn't just public safety that responded and stood up. It was all of Arlington County's government. I was in the command center for the county, and anything they needed, asked the sheriff's office. We were preparing meals out of the jail, sending them to first responders. We, rose to the occasion, as did Arlington County government, and as we do today, 20 years later, for our community. I just want to say, it's been an honor to serve and to be a part of what we do in public safety in Arlington. Thank you, and God bless America.
Chief David Pavlitz, Chief Andy Penn, and Sheriff Beth Arthur will now join the Arlington County Public Safety Combined Honor Guard in placing a wreath at the flagpoles to honor those who lost their lives on this tragic event 20 years ago tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in a moment of silence in memory of the nearly 3,000 men, women, and children who lost their lives 20 years ago tomorrow. 9:37 a.m. is the exact time that American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon, killing 184 people. Thank you. Officers, you may lower the flags to half-staff. On September 11, 2001, people in Arlington, in New York, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania started their day like any other. The day was clear with a bright blue sky as summer was beginning to release us from its grip. At 9:37 a.m., members of the Arlington County Fire and Police Department, along with their counterparts from Fort Myer, the FBI, the county sheriffs, and response agencies from the metropolitan area, went to work to care for the injured, to control the fire, to manage the hazardous materials, and deal with the collapse of the building. Civilian and military members of the Pentagon workforce acted heroically, assisting their comrades from the building and, in some cases, re-entering numerous times to search for others. In the end, 59 people on the aircraft and 125 in the Pentagon perished. These 184 souls ranged in age from 3 to 71 years. As we pause each year on this anniversary to remember, their families are reminded of their loss every day. Since 2001, hundreds more have died as a result of cancers and other illnesses associated with their rescue and recovery efforts. Among them, Arlington County Police Officer Harvey Snook. We should never forget those who initially survived, but still later made the ultimate sacrifice. At the Pentagon, the response and recovery efforts lasted for 20 days. As that work ended, the community began the healing process, and the responders intensified their efforts to prepare for a new generation of threats. For the members of our military, September 11th was the beginning of a new mission, stretching to all corners of the world. Since that day, just as every day throughout our nation's history, these courageous men and women have answered the call of their country, sacrificing so much, and at times sacrificing all, to protect our nation and the world from threats to our safety and security. Among those is the USS Arlington, one of 3 ships commissioned to honor the victims and first responders of 9/11. Today, the ship sails the global seas in service to the defense of our nation. When we say never forget, our remembrance must include the commitment of our nation's armed forces. Their enduring sacrifices cannot go unrecognized. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. Please keep those who lost their lives in your thoughts and prayers throughout the day. Please remain standing for the retiring of the colors. Thank you for attending.
Right place.